Hello everyone and welcome to BeBetterGamer Wrestling. I am BeBetterGamer and today we have another call for you. I have another call for you. Who's we? I don't know. Maybe my alternate personality, my alter ego. Anyway, I have a call for you today, and today I will be showing you how to make Hakushi. Raise your hand if you remember Hakushi. 1,000 points to you, young one in the back. This is definitely a personal favorite of mine. I'm sure a lot of people might not be familiar with Hakushi, but if you remember him, if you remember Hakushi, aka Jinsei Shinzaki, then that's great. When I was a kid, I loved Hakushi, and he was only in the WWF for a brief amount of time, pretty much from like 95 to 96. And so why am I creating Hakushi? Well, because they have his face in the game. His real persona, or I can't really say real persona. So when he was in the WWF, he wrestled as Hakushi. But elsewhere, he's known as Jinsei Shinzaki. And Jinsei Shinzaki's face was included in WWF No Mercy because Jinsei Shinzaki was in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which was the Japanese-only wrestling game that was developed by AKI that came out before No Mercy. So some of the Japanese wrestlers' faces from that game was carried over to this one. So why not create Hakushi? I mean, they have his tattoos, his body paint that he wore to the ring. You can just transfer all his moves over from Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, and boom, there you go, Hakushi. And then you could think about what could have been if Hakushi was still around in the WWE. So let's get started. And like all my other CAW videos, I'm just gonna show you how to make their appearance, pretty much all their moves, fighting style, parameters, ally, enemy, all that stuff you can find in my Google Docs listed in my description below. So I typed this all out. I typed the moves, I typed the appearances, everything out. A nice little Google Docs spreadsheet so you can put in the moves. But so let's give you a rundown. So Hakushi, that's his name, short name, alias none. But Hakushi does mean white paper, or it's also the state of consciousness in Zen Buddhism attained through Zazen, which immediately precedes enlightenment, I guess. I don't know, I looked that up. But Hakushi means white paper. Vince McMahon would call him, because Vince McMahon was commentating at the time, he would call him the modern day kamikaze. White paper sounds a lot better than the modern day kamikaze, but you know, that WWE always wanting to stereotype every, non-white wrestler. So, he's Japanese, he's a kamikaze, yeah, Vince McMahon, go figure. Anyway, picture edit 1, height 5'11", weight 223 pounds. That's his height and weight from Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. Music, I gave him original 3. He always came into this like very slow, sort of Zen-like, Japanese music. He had like he looked like Raiden from, Mortal Kombat or Raiden. However you want to say it. He would have that hat and he was wearing all white. So that's one of the reasons why I loved him. He just had the look, like this great look to him. Body, you want to give him medium 2. Color, you want to give him the 4th skin tone. Head, male 3. He's got a little bit of a short head. Face, male 79. Male 79 is his face. Can't really see it right here. It's kind of covered up because of the tattoos. But I'll show you his face in a bit. Hair, he's bald. Okay, so you don't have to do anything with the hair. Facial hair, give him facial hair 16. He had a little bit of stubble, a little bit of mustache. So facial hair 16. Now masks, you want to give them the kanji. The kanji you do have to buy from the SmackDown Mall. As you can see, it's yellow. Hats and caps, you don't have to give them anything. Ring attire, you want to give them the gi 3. That's also something you have to unlock in the SmackDown Mall. And for the color, so you leave the first one default because the first one default is white, and then you want to make the third color, the second color I should say, you should make it the third one, which is white as well. The default, it's black, but you want to make it white because when he wrestled as Hakushi, he wore all white. Upper body, you don't have to give him anything. Tattoo, original 7, which again is the kanji like tattoos he wore all over his body. They weren't really tattoos, they were drawn on. I don't know how they drew him on because they never came off during his matches. I mean, you watch all his matches, which are available on the WWE Network, and that face, that paint or whatever they did stayed on. I don't know if they used like what is that thing they call the henna? I don't know if they use like the henna ink, or if they use some sort of really good paint, body paint, because that stuff never came off during his matches. And like even like Sting's face paint comes off sometime, and you can see some wrestlers who wore masks, they had face paint under their mask, and you would see that come off sometimes. Gloves, so this is he wore like these like kind of like, they weren't taped up gloves like wrist tape, but they were like these long fingerless gloves. So what I did was I gave him grappling, and I gave him I made him white once again, and then wristband, same thing, wristband 1 and white to give him that like long kind of like glove that he used to wear. Elbow pads, no elbow pads. Knee pads, no knee pads. Feet, you want to give him the tabi feet. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Once again, something that you have to unlock in the SmackDown Mall. Leave the colors default. Unfortunately, entrance attire, they don't have like his really cool entrance attire or that he can come with. But there you go, that's Hakushi. And if you don't know who Hakushi is, go on the WWE Network, watch, type in Hakushi and check out some of his matches. He fought a young Matt Hardy when Matt Hardy was just a jobber in the WWE. He fought Bob Holly. He teamed up with Owen Hart and Yokozuna, and they took on Bret Hart, Bob Holly, 1 2 3 Kid. His whole point, I guess, of coming to the WWF, his first major feud was against Bret Hart. And, Bret Hart was the best of the best at the time. And, Hakushi was undefeated. And him and Bret Hart would meet at the first In Your House pay-per-view. And they would have a great match. Go watch that match. The fans really started to get into Hakushi. I was getting into Hakushi when I was a kid, and he always left an impression on me. Here's his Jinsei Shinzaki outfit. That's him just wrestling when he would go wrestle in Japan. He would go back to Japan because he only spent a brief time in the WWE, and then he would go to Japan and pretty much stay in Japan, very rarely coming to the States. He did wrestle briefly at ECW, most notably Heatwave 98, where him and Hayabusa, another popular Japanese wrestler, took on RVD and Sabu for their tag team championships. So if you want to give him the Jinsei Shinzaki, same profile, just change his name, Jinsei Shinzaki. Appearance, take away the body paint, and there's his face, male 79, transferred over from Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, and everything stays the same. He just stays white. He actually did wear the body paint when he wrestled as Jinsei Shinzaki in the WWF. I guess maybe he put the body paint on so that people who saw him as Hakushi can remember that. Here's another little alternate outfit. It's basically the same thing, just with his gi black, and the same thing with Jinsei Shinzaki with his gi black. And that's it. That's Hakushi. Let's go play as Hakushi. Who should we face? We should face X-Pac. He had some run-ins with the 1 2 3 Kid back in the day on episodes of Raw. He had a really good match with 1 2 3 Kid when 1 2 3 Kid was babyface, and then after Survivor Series, or right before Survivor Series, 1 2 3 Kid, he turned bad. He joined $1 Million Man, and Hakushi had a little bit of a brief feud with him after that. So here he is, Hakushi. I'm going to take on X-Pac, aka 1 2 3 Kid, because unfortunately Bret Hart isn't in the... Ooh, I just spoiled another Japanese wrestler I'm working on. Where is he? Where is X-Pac? I just reordered it alphabetical order, so maybe I should look at the end. There's Hakushi. There's X-Pac. Let's get it. Let's get to it. So, this is... When I was a kid, I remember really digging Hakushi. And I remember seeing that you could make him in this game. And first of all, he was in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. So the fact that he was in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and that they kept a lot of his stuff in No Mercy, I said, why not why not make him in No Mercy? At that time, though, when I first had No Mercy, I couldn't go back and watch his matches from WWF. So with the WWE Network, I'm able to go back and watch the Hakushi matches, and that Hakushi Bret Hart match at In Your House 1 is really good. And it's really funny. I watched all the his matches in progression, from his first match, not really his first match with Matt Hardy, but that was like the first match they have on the network of him is against Matt Hardy, and they're pretty much squash matches. He beats everyone very quickly, and there is a sense that it's just building up to him facing Bret Hart, so he's got to look credible. And when he has the Bret Hart match, that's when he starts pulling out all the stops. Hakushi was known for doing a running springboard dive outside where he would moonsault dive. He does that at In Your House. He does his shoulder tackle. He does his praying moonsault. He hits like almost all his signature stuff that he was known for, or would later be known for, I should say. Because he only really just started wrestling around that time. He was only in the business for a couple of years at that point, and a lot of Japanese wrestlers, after they finish their training in Japan, they're sent to the Americas, the U.S. or Mexico, to learn an international style, to learn how to wrestle elsewhere, also so that they can, grow and get better as a wrestler, and not have it be done over there, so that they're not jobbing all the time in Japan, so people don't just associate them with losing. They want them to be ready and come back when they've gotten some experience. So that's why Jinsei Shinzaki was in the WWF, and he was doing some very innovative stuff, and he was pulling out all the stops with his match against Bret Hart. I think once people started seeing him do a lot of his like really innovative high-flying stuff, the fans started to really get into him. There I go, bam, hit the praying moonsault, and giving that to X-Pac. He's got the cane taunt, which I think is just so funny. But WWE, unlike WCW, slash NWA at the time, they didn't really have, there's this double drop kick, which I missed. They didn't really have a lot of diversity when it came to Mexican or Japanese wrestlers, like WCW did. WWF was very lacking, and they didn't have a lot of junior heavyweights. I mean, 1-2-3 Kid was one of the few exceptions of a junior heavyweight that was actually getting a lot of TV time and being allowed to like thrive with a light heavyweight style. WCW, meanwhile, they were always doing exchanges, I guess you should say, with Japanese wrestlers. I mean, the Great Muta held the NWA championship. You had Masahiro Chono and Hiro Saito. You had a bunch of guys coming over from Japan. Kensuke Sasaki as Power Warrior. If anything, WWF had a lot of female Japanese wrestlers, which I thought was interesting, and they all feuded with like Alundra Blaze pretty much. But they didn't have a lot of Japanese wrestlers, so I thought it was very cool when Hakushi showed up, because he was something different. And I've always been fascinated with Japanese culture, even at a young age, so he always stood out to me. So when I got older and I started getting into Japanese wrestling, one of the first wrestlers I looked up was Jinsei Shinzaki, and that really turned me onto Michinoku Pro Wrestling, and I started watching the Great Suzuki and finding more about like Taka Michinoku and how good he actually was. He wasn't just a joke wrestler. At the time, CIMA, Magnum Tokyo were coming up, and that just spiraled into like learning about all the Japanese junior heavyweights and Liger and Shinjiro Otani and Koji Kanemoto and all these things. So Jinsei Shinzaki, aka Hakushi, really was like my gateway to Japanese junior heavyweights, because I was so fascinated with him as a kid. And going back and watching his matches recently was really enlightening, because he was brought in as a heel, and you can see, because of his style, because of his appearance, he was getting over with the fans. People were liking him. And shortly after his match with Bret Hart, his persona started to change. He started to be embracing, quote unquote, the American culture a lot more. And fans would be, cheering him just because he was good in the ring. And it was great to see that. This is like 1995. So basically, if Jinsei Shinzaki was around, or Hakushi was introduced at this time, period in the WWE, he'd be like, the bad guy that, WWF wants you to hate, but everyone's cheering because he's doing a lot of badass moves, and he has a badass gimmick, like this silent, Japanese warrior with this body paint. Like that would be so over these days. They would love it. NXT would eat it up. I mean, look at Hideo Itami. Hideo Itami is a perfect example, but he's a superstar. Okay, he was already an established superstar. Over there in Noah, and one of the top wrestlers over there, and coming to the WWF, aka NXT. But he Jinsei Shinzaki was new, so it's funny that, like, in a way you could have seen, bam, there we go, the tumbling flip, nailed it, while X-Pac was too busy taunting. And that's another reason why I created Jinsei Shinzaki, because he has such a cool moveset. I'm gonna try to do the shoulder tackle. Oh no, he does the big chop outside. Let me see if I can do his regular moonsault, tumbling moonsault. Here we go. I gotta time it right. Oh wait, nope, I didn't time it right at all. But yeah, it's just so funny to see at that time, 1995, WWF seemed so opposed to having junior heavyweights, let alone international junior heavyweights, and they could have gotten over, just if they were allowed to go out there and do their thing. And it's taken them a long time. I would say they're still not even there yet. WWF is still not even there yet for embracing other styles. I mean, they still don't have a lot of Mexican wrestlers who adapt a lucha libre style. They still don't have a lot of Japanese wrestlers. They never really had Japanese wrestlers. And just a lot of other kind of styles and nationalities and different representations of different styles of wrestling, because not in Japanese wrestling, they're not just all light heavyweights. There's a lot of heavyweights and the strong style of wrestling and thinking that, I hope he doesn't beat me. Is X-Pac gonna beat me right now? No, he's not gonna beat me. He almost beat me. Now time to rally with I want to see if I could do the praying rope walk. I'm probably gonna have a comeback special. No, I don't have a comeback special. Oh, this is going to be a challenge. But that's another reason why I created Jinsei Shinzaki, is because he has such a great moveset. So if you're not familiar with, Hakushi or Jinsei Shinzaki, I would say check out this call anyway. Make him go watch his stuff on the WWE Network, and maybe you'll become a fan. If you don't have access to Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, there's not many opportunities to bridge the gap between a lot of the wrestlers who are in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 and to bring them over to WWF No Mercy. The next few wrestlers I do will be me pulling from that pool of Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 characters that you can make in this game, but not many of them wrestled in the WWF/WWE. So it's really just me making them because they're easy to make in this game, and they're kind of fan favorites of mine. So here we go, X-Pac, and also I forgot that X-Pac had this heel turn. Why does he do that? Oh, I should change that, because he has the handspring. He's supposed to have that. Did I not give him the handspring? He's supposed to have the handspring into the corner. Let me see if I did give it to him. Did I mess up and not give it to him? I didn't give him his handspring. Back elbow. Okay, so I'm going to change that one move, because he's supposed to do back elbow, a handspring into the back elbow into the corner. That's like one of his signature moves. And I can't believe I didn't give it to him. Did he not have that in Virtual Pro Wrestling? I translated everything from Virtual Pro Wrestling, and maybe it was just an oversight on my end. Maybe I just didn't realize. Huh, I gotta look now. I gotta look to see if they gave him that in Virtual Pro Wrestling too, because they should have. They should have given him. He does that all the time. Here we go. Oh, a rear naked choke. X-Pac is just wearing me down, but I got the rope break. Yeah, it just makes you think about what could have been. I mean, you have that other great time when Great Suzuki showed up and fought Taka Michinoku at another In Your House. X-Pac and Jinsei Shinzaki, Hakushi, they had some good matches, and it just makes you wonder what could have been if WWE tapped into, that junior heavyweight market, and, they could have really thrived. I mean, look how popular and memorable the WCW Cruiserweight division. A lot of the people who watch wrestling at that time, they all pretty much remember the WCW Cruiserweights. Why am I not doing anything there? I should be doing his high flying move, but I wasn't doing it. Uh-oh. X-Pac, I'm getting a little confused. That's why I'm like stopping my speech. He's also got a I changed him in Virtual Pro Wrestling too, because here I gave him just a regular sleeper hold, because he does that like special like choke where he like grabs your arms and chokes you with them, and that is you can only do that as a upper body submission special move. So he's also got that, which is pretty cool. It's got a Japanese name. There's X-Pac with the counter. He might actually win. Nope, he's not gonna win. I really hope I don't lose to X-Pac. This is on hard. Oh, he's bleeding. All right. Let me see if I could do the praying rope walk. It's gonna be kind of tough just doing it like this. Whoa. Let me see if I could get him. He's been blocking that all match. All right, come on, stop it, X-Pac. Let me hit you with it. It would be easier if it was the weak grapple, but it's his strong grapple. I should have just made it his weak grapple. Taunting again. Oh man, he's just taunting. Uh-oh. Alright, I got the enziguri. And the single leg crab. I still don't have a comeback special. That's pretty redonk. Let me see if I can hit Tori with it. Why am I not? Huh. That's interesting. Now I'm not doing the running moves for some reason. I'm not diving out the rope. I did it in the beginning of the match. You saw that, right? But it would have been interesting to see if WWE went into that well and tapped the junior heavyweights. It seemed like they had some sort of relationship with Japan. There were a few Japanese wrestlers who weren't, I guess, unknown from working with WWF. So they definitely had the connections. And even quite recently, WWE's been... It seems like now they're trying to establish a relationship with Japan and, with some Japanese promotions, which I think they should, because honestly, Japanese wrestling is like my favorite next to WWE, and for the longest time, that's all I would watch was like Japanese stuff. And you look back, and it's always like it's so weird when you look back and you look at '95 and you see someone like Hakushi wrestling, and it's like, man, what could have been? What could have been if WWE embraced this Japanese market? And here we go. Now I have my special. So his special was the praying crucifix powerbomb. So if you ever wanted to do the praying crucifix powerbomb, now's your chance. He didn't do it while he was in the WWF, but this is something he did when he was in Michinoku Pro and wrestling all over Japan. So here you go. 1, 2, 3. That should be it. I don't think he's gonna kick out. Bam. So there you go, Hakushi. I hope you like this call. That was a close one. I almost didn't lose that. I almost lost that match because I was too busy trying to style and do a lot of signature Hakushi stuff. But yeah, I hope you like this call video. Give me a like, leave a comment, subscribe. The whole deal. Go on, get the WWE Network if you don't have it, and go watch some Hakushi on the WWE Network. This was a childhood favorite of mine. I just had to make him in WWF No Mercy, so I hope you enjoyed it. Watch that Hakushi Bret Hart match. in your house, won 1995. And yeah, and thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Okay, see you next time.